Morning to both.
Good morning.
So let's dive right in, okay? You are both experts and practitioners in monitoring and fighting anti-Semitism. What are the biggest trends today? What most concerns you?
Well, I can start and then pass to Felix. I would say in the United States there are multiple trends that are worrying. We have a rise of political polarization. We have an increase of extremism on both sides. We have this sort of advent of conspiracism, the tendency to scapegoat and blame your problems. And of course, social media is amplifying all of this. But the data is damning. You know, at ADL, we track anti-Semitic incidents. Last year, we tracked 2,717 anti-Semitic incidents, acts of harassment, vandalism, and violence.
In the United States?
In the United States, it's the highest number we've ever seen in more than 40 years of tracking this data.
How is it in Europe?
Yeah, we also unfortunately have to analyze that we have an all-time high number of anti-Semitic crimes ever measured in Germany and in Europe in a whole. The Fundamental Rights Agency that also collects data on anti-Semitism below the threshold of crime has also detected an all-time high number of cases, and this is due to conspiracy theories that were, of course, very much dispersed in the connection of the pandemic. And we have trivialization of the Holocaust in really absolutely unacceptable ways. And the problem is that we have so many sources of anti-Semitism, the right wing, the left wing, Islamist, and the populist right that gains importance. So this is, I think, our main problem is we have to fight on so many fronts that we should really get a good strategy for that.
Would you like to elaborate maybe about the differences between the right-wing and left-wing anti-Semitism?
Yes, well, the right-wing anti-Semitism, that is the traditional European Jew hatred coming out of anti-clerical, of churches, of the whole, of this unfortunate cultural heritage we have in Europe, and that has still the basic idea is to make Jews accountable for everything that does not go well. Now the evils of globalization, anti-modernism. This is these are the sources of right-wing anti-Semitism, and the left wing is making Israel, making Jews accountable for all the economic problems that exist in the world, and sometimes the two even go together. We have seen in the pandemic that people protest, go and demonstrate. People and groups that normally would have never ever anything together, nothing would combine them. But only anti-Semitism is a dirty glue that brings these people together, and this is directly linked to the delegitimation of our states, of our societies. So we really have to be aware of that.
So, and Jonathan, maybe at this point we should talk about the major address you gave back in May, where you expressed ADL's position that anti-Zionism equals anti-Semitism.
Look, it is interesting to be having this conversation, Hila, here, in this place, in this time, in this moment. I think when Herzl talked about Zionism, and he envisioned sort of a light unto the nations, I would say that anti-Zionism is a darkness unto the nations. And anti-Zionism, which, by the way, doesn't only come from the left, right? We have Islamists who are anti-Zionist. These extreme right-wing forces are very anti-Zionist. But in the political context today, there is no doubt that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. It is. And we must reckon with the fact that there are anti-Zionists within the Jewish community. We must be honest and acknowledge that reality. But the reality is that just because you are Jewish doesn't exempt you from trafficking in anti-Zionism. Just like you could be someone who is a person of color, that doesn't exempt them from trafficking in racism. We've got to deal with this openly, but let me put it very clearly. The far right, as Felix said, they say the Jewish people are not legitimate. The Jewish people do not belong. The Jewish people should go back to where they came from. And the anti-Zionist says the Jewish state is illegitimate. The Jewish state doesn't belong. Those living in the Jewish state should go back where they came from. It is the same thing. But I just think we need to approach this with some degree of nuance and understand. I mean, I haven't heard anyone talk about the Palestinian people during this session thus far. We have to wrestle with that as well. But our Zionism should compel us to do so. Zionism isn't just a light for the Jewish people. It's a liberation movement for all people. We should take strength in it. We should find inspiration in it, and we should share it with the world.
I actually wanted to ask you what is the response of the U.S. government, but now I feel I have to ask you how is the Jewish community's responses to this challenge?
To the challenge of anti-Zionism?
Inside Jewish communities, as you said.
I think all of our communities need to wrestle with this. Our denominations, as Rabbi Wolpe said on the stage, the Reform movement, the conservative movement needs to wrestle with this. The Democratic Party and political movements need to take this on and challenge it. The reality is that, yeah, it is still a minority, but that's how all threats start, small and on the edges and on the margin, and it's up to us with honesty and with conviction to confront it, to challenge it, and to wrestle it down.
And what do you think should be the response of the U.S. government? What can the U.S. do more?
The U.S. government should start by listening to what Yossi Cohen said and clearly, cogently, and consistently calling out the annihilationism and the anti-Semitism of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The reason why we're even talking about a JCPOA is not because they're a breakout power. Japan is a breakout power. Italy is a breakout power. But those countries don't insist that they want to destroy another nation state. We need to deal with the malevolence, the anti-Semitism, and the anti-Zionism of Iran head on every time we talk about that nefarious country.
Felix, the EU Commission adopted its first ever EU strategy on combating anti-Semitism and fostering Jewish life in October 2021. What do you think will change?
I think this strategy is a game changer in the fight against anti-Semitism because it will enable us in Europe to handle the phenomenon more strategically and not so much as an answer to anti-Semitic incidents case by case, but in a more strategical matter. I really commend Katharina for the great work she has done. And one element is really important. It's not only a strategy against anti-Semitism, but fostering Jewish life. This is so important, I think. The more normal, the more normal it gets to the perception of Jewish life in Europe, I think the better we are in our fight against anti-Semitism. And there I really look to the United States, where really Jewish life is an integral part of day-to-day life. People go to a synagogue, even non-Jews go and listen to a concert, go to exhibitions, have talks, etc. This is where we have to get in Europe too. And the strategy really is envisaging that. I'm working on a national strategy of Germany. Katharina has mentioned, and by the end of this year, every EU member state should have that. And really, I think the perception is really good. We have to be more strategic in the fight against anti-Semitism. Also, to give you one example, I really work hard on having anti-Semitism commissioners in almost every German structure, at schools, in TV, broadcasting stations. It's really the media coverage regarding Israel is sometimes really dramatic and has anti-Semitic elements, and we should enable broadcasting TV stations and schools and museums, really the whole civil society in combating anti-Semitism by creating this structure, by having experts everywhere, and I'm optimistic that we will be successful in that.
But in Hebrew, we say tachlis, which means, do you see it changes policies in states, in Germany, in other states in the EU?
Yes, when I came to office in 2018, only 20% of the German population agreed to the sentence that anti-Semitism is a big problem in German society. Now we have more than 70% agreeing to that. So the awareness is really much better than before. I see also a growing awareness that the fight against anti-Semitism is not only for the Jewish people, but for all of us, for the democracies, for the way we would like to live.
I think we would like to end this discussion with hope, okay, with some optimism. You both work confronting hate, intolerance, and threats every day. What gives you hope in this battle?
Look, I have my hope is sitting right here. My hope is being here 125 years later. My hope is that we have a sovereign
I'm not sure
Jewish
it will
state.
be possible 125 years
125
later.
years from now?
Yeah.
I have so much hope. I have so much optimism. As a Jewish person, you can't not have optimism. And I think about what Israel has done for the world and how the Jewish people... By the way, the reason why Jewish people now thrive in Europe, the reason why we now thrive in America, the reason why we have robust communities... I was at the opening of the Maccabea Games, in Brazil, in Mexico, in Cuba, is because of Zionism. It is Zionism which gives the diaspora the confidence that we have. So that gives me hope. And I think, look, the future is bright, but we have to steel ourselves, because this will be a fight. And this is what we just need to recognize as well, right? We weren't given this covenant that life would be easy. Life is not easy, it's hard. The first 125 years were hard. The next 125 years will be hard. But in that struggle, I think so much can be achieved, and we should, again, take inspiration and energy from it.
Yeah, well, I couldn't do my work if I were not an optimist, of course. And despite of all the problems we have mentioned now, there is really a big hope. One, I think, is the Abraham Accords. I think there will more countries will see the positive developments coming out of that. The United Arab Emirates are prospering because of the Abraham Accords, and I think other countries should follow the combination between Israeli mindset and brains and also the possibilities of surrounding countries will eventually lead to a great prosperous future of the Middle East, and that will be fantastic.
Thank you so much for talking to us today. Thank you.